What's up, YouTube? This is Czech, longtime reporter. Some of you might know that because you followed me when I used to cover the sport of mixed martial arts. You'll know that I used to say my day job is I'm a newspaper reporter. Or, well, I don't know if can I really say newspaper anymore because we're more online than we are anything else. But, yeah, that's who I am. I've been a reporter for the past 23 years. And so this is the start of something new. This is the first installment of what will hopefully be a long and fruitful, useful series called Ask a Reporter. It's where I'm going to go into, some of the burning questions that folks out there might have about the industry, some of the puzzling things that go on. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And sorry for the there right here, this thing right here. Sorry for that. That's the sun. But so I'm calling it Ask a Reporter, but I'm going to start off with a topic, and then in the subsequent installments you can ask me, because it's Ask a Reporter. So I'm asking you to ask me whatever question you have that's bothering you that you would like an answer to. So I'm going to start it off with one of the most probably one of the most popular concepts within journalism, and that's on the record, off the record. What exactly is that? What exactly is on the record, off the record? I'm sure you've heard those terms before. Maybe you know what they mean. Maybe you don't. So let's dive right into it. And first of all, I got to say, beyond anything else, as a citizen of the United States, specifically, I'll say the United States, as a resident of the United States, you are under no obligation to talk to a reporter, ever. You absolutely are within your rights to say, you know what, no thanks, not going to comment, no thank you. You're totally within your rights to do that. So you should never, ever feel an obligation to talk with the media. And a reporter, any reporter worth their salt, will totally 100% accept that. You don't want to talk? Okay, that's fine. Move on. That's it. That's all you do. You ask, they say no, you move on. No need for, harassing or asking again. You ask it plainly, you ask it clearly, and if they say no, okay, I'm moving on. So that's number one. So on the record, off the record, let's get to the definitions. On the record means that you, as a source, as an interviewee, you are imparting knowledge or opinion, information in one way or another that will be or could be used publicly. So you've got to understand that. And really, if you enter into an interview, if you agree to an interview, you should automatically assume that everything that you say is going to be on the record. When you're talking to a reporter, you have to assume that everything you're saying could possibly be used in some form of media, whether it's written or video or whatever. Unless you say, unless you say no comment, or unless you say, I want to have an off-the-record conversation. So an off-the-record conversation would be one in which nothing that is discussed, nothing that you say as the source, as the interviewee, nothing is used in any way, shape, matter, or form. It's totally confidential, classified, top secret, however you want to say it. It is not to be used in any way, in any form of media, whether it's written or video or whatever. So that's basically the quick definitions of on the record, off the record. Now, what I do in a situation like that is I say, well, and here's the other important thing. It has to be a mutually agreed upon scenario. In other words, as the reporter, I could say, let's go off the record. And then the person I'm interviewing would say, yes, I agree. Or the person would say, no, I don't want to go off the record. And then I would either be able to continue the conversation on the record, or I guess I could end it right there, but I would probably not do that type of thing. I, as a reporter, would rather have an on-the-record conversation where somebody is saying, "No, I can't talk about that, I can't talk about that," but have the interview continue. But if the interviewee says, "Let's have an off-the-record conversation," I have to agree to it as the reporter. I could say, "Okay, I agree." Or I could say, "No, I don't agree." And then the person that is the source who is suggesting it has that choice of either ending the interview or continuing the interview on the record. So that's how it goes. It has to be a mutual agreement between the two parties. Now, what I do as a reporter, and usually I'm not the one that is, at least in my career, 23 years in the business, I'm not one to, of course, a reporter wants everything to be on the record. It's just, you as a reporter, you want to have things, you want to have nuggets of information, you want to have that stuff at your disposal so that you can use it in your reporting. So you don't want it off the record. You want everything on the record. Pie in the sky, you want everything on the record. But if somebody, people usually suggest to me, let's go off the record. So, and more times than not, I will agree to it. Because typically, why they're doing that is they want to provide some background to me. They want to provide some context to me that they don't necessarily want everyone else to know, but they would like me to know so that I gain a deeper understanding of what they're talking about. Either that, or they want to tell me some things that would be damaging to them if the public knew, or they want to tell me things that could possibly lead me off into other directions, but they don't want anyone knowing where I got that information. So there's any number of scenarios, any number of reasons why one would go off the record. Those are a few of them. But usually, myself as the reporter, I'm not the one that is suggesting it. So if somebody suggests it to me, if somebody says, "Can we," or they ask me, "Can we go off the record?" I will usually say, if we're on the phone, I'll say, "I'm putting the pen down now." So that tells them, and there's a trust. There's a level of trust there. You have to trust me. If we're not looking each other in the eye, you got to trust me that I'm putting the pen down and I'm not taking down any of this, because it's not a good scenario if you have an off-the-record conversation, but yet you still record it. Not good, because that can get mixed up with the stuff that is on the record, and then you don't know what's on and what's off, and then you might inadvertently use that in a story or in a video, and it's just not good. It's not good to go there. So it's best just to not even take it down. You don't even take it down, and that way there's no, the danger is not there. You're removing the danger of possibly using that sensitive nugget of information. So I say, I'm putting the pen down. That's what I tell the people. If we're over the phone, I'm with a source. I'm putting the pen down. If we're in person, I'll physically put the pen down, because I'm old school. I take notes in a, I'll show you. Reporter's notebook right here. How do I know it's a reporter's notebook? It says it right on it. See, it says it right here. Reporter's notebook. How could it not be a reporter's notebook? It says it. It fits. It's very handy. Fits in your back pocket very easily. So I'm old school. I still write it out. So if I'm face to face with somebody, I will put the pen down and show them I'm not taking this conversation down. Now, going off the record is a mutual agreement. Going back on the record is a mutual agreement as well. You both have to agree to it. Both parties have to agree to go on the record. Both parties have to, or off the record, both parties have to agree to go back on the record. You got to make it clear. You got to make it clear. That's very, very important. I've heard over the years, over the decades, I've heard cops, police officers talk about, "Yeah, man, I got burned." And like, you got one shot. If you're a reporter, you got one shot. Don't burn me. Burn means they tell a reporter something, more times than not. What being burned by a reporter to a police officer means they've told you something, it's off the record, but yet you use it anyway. And then they never talk to you again. It's like, you burned me once and that's it. You're dead to me, practically. I'm never talking to you again. On the record, off the record, ain't talking to you again if you burn me. So that's been my experience with police officers, at least. And I can say that. Police officers, law enforcement, personnel in general. That's the bulk of the people that I've dealt with for my career. And so they seem to have this one strike rule. You burn me once, and then we're done. Yeah, it's very important. It's very important to preserve the relationship between the reporter and the source. It's very important that you know the difference between on the record, off the record, and that you adhere to that. That you adhere to those principles of on the record, off the record, and that you make them perfectly clear to your source. The other thing, I'll kind of close with this, well, two things. Number one, on the record, off the record is not legally binding. It's not legally binding, but it's, I guess you could say, morally, ethically, culturally binding. That's one thing. So you can't I don't believe that you can take I'm not a lawyer, but I don't believe you can take somebody to court over it and say, hey, look, I told them off the record. They kept it on the record. They put it in the paper or on TV. Now I'm suing them. I don't think it flies like that, but I'm not. Check with a lawyer on that. But it's my understanding it's not legally binding. And the last thing, recourse. Any recourse to it, you can have a conversation with the reporter to maybe see what can be done there. I mean, the damage has already been done. If it's already out there, it's already out there, and we know the internet is forever. But having a conversation with the reporter or having a conversation with their editor, some big media outlets have ombudsmen. I know it's a tough word, ombudsman. That's kind of like a troubleshooter, somebody that you can take your complaints to. Some people have taken to social media over it. Probably I wouldn't suggest that, but probably the best thing is to never, if you're in a position of power, if you're appointed or elected or whatever, you never talk to that person again. And, like the police do, you burn me once and that's it. So, anyway, ask a reporter. This is the beginning of it. So if you got any questions, anything at all about the reporting business, about the media, about journalism, burning questions that you might have, I'm your man. I'm your guy. I know a guy. Ted Czech. I'm the guy. So you can leave them for me on Twitter, Facebook. You can find me. Just throw my name out there. You'll find it. Or here on this YouTube channel. And so hopefully this will be the start of something. This will be the start of something great. I certainly hope so. Thanks a lot. I will talk to you later.